A defiant Cassidy Hutchinson standing by her testimony despite denials by the Secret Service. The former top aide to Chief of Staff Mark Meadows told the panel that Trump was so unhinged, so determined to join his armed supporters at the Capitol that he tried to grab the wheel of his limo and lunged at an agent's throat. Moments ago, we did hear from the January 6th committee co-chair Liz Cheney, who did an interview with ABC's Jonathan Karl. This is her first interview since that dramatic hearing.
I think that what Cassidy Hutchinson did was an unbelievable example of bravery and of courage and patriotism in the face of real pressure.
As you know, there's an active campaign underway to destroy her credibility. Do you have any doubt at all in anything that she said to you?
I am absolutely confident in her credibility. I'm confident in her testimony. The committee is not going to stand by and watch her character be assassinated by anonymous sources and by men who are claiming executive privilege.
All right, let's bring in CNN senior legal analyst and former state and federal prosecutor Elie Honig, chief national affairs analyst Casey Hunt, and CNN political commentator Alyssa Farah Griffin. She was a Trump White House communications director. She worked with Meadows and is friends with Cassidy Hutchinson. All right, first, Elie, to you, what would you be asking if you are on the committee and you are interviewing Pat Cipollone? What would you be asking him?
First question, that statement that you made to Cassidy Hutchinson about every crime on the books, did you say that to Mark Meadows? Did you say that to Donald Trump? Because if he did, and we don't know, but it stands to reason that he did as White House counsel, that goes right to their intent. That means they were told by the most authoritative lawyer in the White House, what we are doing right now is illegal in all of these ways. And if they proceeded, as it appears they did, that is remarkably damning as to intent.
Elie, our reporting, Dana's reporting, is that he might agree to limited transcribed interview. In other words, he's going to carve out some areas where he may not answer because of some privilege. What would that be? Where would the carve-out area be?
So that'll be up to the negotiation, but it sounds to me like they're working on a deal where he will testify about the conversations perhaps he had with some people, but not Donald Trump. They've done this before. When Mark Short testified, reportedly, they let him avoid talking about his conversations with Donald Trump. Now, I think the natural reaction to that is, but that's the most important thing. What did you say to Donald Trump? The problem for the committee is they have no leverage. As a practical matter, they are at Pat Cipollone's mercy, because if Cipollone says, no, I'm out, not talking to you, the committee does not have the time left to go into the courts. We saw how long that took with Don McGahn. They have 6 months left at most. They just don't have the time. So maybe their thinking is something is better than nothing.
Because the dynamics with Pat Cipollone are so different than they are with a Cassidy Hutchinson. And you can see where if he's going to be wanting to claim privilege, he's going to do it on, did you tell Donald Trump that?
Right. No, exactly. I mean, that's really kind of the only standing that he has. But I do think that it's interesting that they finally actually sent the subpoena, because the reporting that we got was basically like, well, he was not going to do it without a subpoena, right? We've seen that from a number of people who were close to the former president. In some ways, it gives them political cover with the president. I'm not sure that that's what's going on in Cipollone's case, but I do think it's important. And the other thing here is, don't forget, like, the public outside pressure here. To your point, that piece of this is very important because of the limited amount of time that they have. So Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony put incredible pressure on Pat Cipollone. I think that's why you're seeing this movement.
And you heard Liz Cheney basically referring to it right there. Cassidy Hutchinson did this. All these men, and she did say men, are hiding behind various forms of privilege. Alyssa, you are friends with Cassidy Hutchinson. Let me just ask right now, you've talked to her. How's she doing?
She's doing remarkably well, I think better than I would have been doing in her shoes. I think she's struck by the magnitude of the moment, but she went into it clear-eyed, knowing obviously her life would change overnight, but that this was incredibly important testimony she had to bring to the committee. So, I mean, Cassidy actually came to me and said, there's more I want to share with the committee. A couple months ago, I put her in touch with Congresswoman Cheney. She got a new lawyer, and that's how this testimony came about. And one thing I want to say just real quick on Pat Cipollone, I think he's a gold mine, even if he can't talk about what he advised the president on. Even just confirming that he told the White House chief of staff, you'll have committed every crime under the book. So there's a lot that could come out of that written testimony.
Can I just follow up on one thing? She came to you and said she had more even after she'd spoken to them once?
Yeah, so what people need to understand is Trump World was assigning lawyers to a lot of these these staffers who themselves, don't have big
assigning lawyers?
Well, I should say covering the cost of lawyers for people who don't have big legal defense funds to themselves.
So they were paying Cassidy Hutchinson's lawyer?
Is my understanding. You'd have to confirm that, but she had someone, Stefan Positano, who'd been in the White House counsel's office, is still aligned with Trump world. She did her interview. She complied with the committee, but she shared with me, there is more I want to share that was not asked in those settings. How do we do this? And in that process, she got a new attorney of her own. Congresswoman Cheney had a sense of what questions needed to be asked that weren't previously. So that's how this shocking testimony that people didn't realize before kind of came about, and it didn't come up in her earlier interviews, some of these facts.
So this sheds a lot of interesting new light on a lot of things, but especially some of those. We know that at least one of those text messages that Liz Cheney showed on the screen at the end of the hearing that suggested there was pressure from Trump world actually went to Cassidy Hutchinson. So, I mean, in the event
that was a big question we had. Is
right?
that what she's basically saying?
Yeah, if the reality is now that she previously had a Trump bought and paid for lawyer, she switches lawyers, suddenly she's getting text messages that suggest that. I mean, there's a lot there.
This is ringing a lot of bells for me from my time as a prosecutor. It's very common. I used to do mafia cases, okay? The boss.
You're perfect for this.
Not unlike Donald Trump.
Sadly, yes. The boss, the family, pays for the attorneys for everyone on the indictment, or as many people as they can.
Can I just interject very quickly here? By the way, there are two sides to this. Also, there are very junior people who can't often afford their lawyers, too. So you have various committees and political committees that will provide counsel. Not necessarily something that's nefarious. I digress. Continue.
It's not necessarily illegal. And yes, sometimes people say, thank you, I need a lawyer. But the practical effect of that is witnesses, like Alyssa was apparently saying with Cassidy Hutchinson, feel like, well, there's certain things I can't really say in front of this lawyer. And I'll tell you, the number one flag for us as prosecutors, this person may be ready to flip, they change out lawyers and go get a lawyer on their own.
And one thing I would say on a more practical note, I think, and I don't want to speak for Cassidy, there was an element of not even fully understanding the significance of some of the things that she saw. And as the committee has gone about its work, she's like, wait, this connects to this, this connects to this. And, I wouldn't be shocked if more witnesses end up coming forward after her testimony because they realize they can kind of fill in more gaps as they've heard this all laid out.
In a deposition, you answer what you're asked.
Exactly.
So she wasn't asked some of the questions that she was asked in this hearing. Is that part of it?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
While we're going down this road,
let's do it.
Because
Take
this
us
is taking
there.
a little bit of an extra turn here. Okay, so was she aware? Did she anticipate the pushback that would take place here, and particularly with what she testified she heard from Tony Ornato?
I think so. I don't want to speak for her, but that was the one piece of her testimony that was based on hearsay. I was told this, not that she witnessed it. And I think that has been blown out of proportion because his intent to go to the Capitol alone when he knew there were armed people going there to try to stop the election is significant enough. I think the fact that the committee allowed her to use it means that it can mean a number of things. I think for one, it puts the pressure on Tony Ornato to actually testify. I'm not of the mind that he's going to, but he's someone I know to have been dishonest in the past. I think she's kind of wearing the brunt of that right now, but I think she's going to be vindicated in the long run.
Okay, under oath, not under oath, these are two different things. Like you said, Tony Ornato, you've tweeted about him. Do you think that he would lie to undermine her testimony?
I think he would lie not under oath. He's not going to perjure himself. I think he's going to come up with a lot of reasons to not testify or comply with the subpoena if he's has that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, we should really underscore the sort of bizarre circumstances under which Tony Ornato was operating in the White House at this time, right? It is extremely rare that a Secret Service agent who, I mean, he was sort of detailed to the White House. He wasn't officially really with the service at the time. I mean, it's a very complicated arrangement. That is, I don't want to say unprecedented because I don't have the knowledge to quite say that, but let's just say I've covered at least 4 administrations now. I've never seen anything like that before. There are also, there's reporting that he is very much involved with, you have to remember, Trump always took his personal security very seriously. He was trailed for many years by this guy named Keith Schiller, who, I remember, I knew Keith because he was around from the very beginning. When Trump came down that escalator, he was the one who was there. He was always by Trump's side. And the sense is that Ornato sort of filled those shoes once Schiller left. That puts him in this close physical proximity to Trump. And there are a lot of questions about what his future is like. Is he going to run security for the Trump organization? So, I mean, the motives and the pressures on him are pretty extraordinary.
Can I just add to that? With this whole dispute, look, I found Cassidy Hutchinson to be a very credible witness for a lot of reasons. But it is fair game to try to pick it apart. That's what happens when you take the stand in Congress or in a trial. But I am not buying the Tony Ornato story. And let me tell you why. He has a habit of this. Cassidy Hutchinson said, Tony Ornato told me this damaging things. Ornato denied it. Alyssa Farah has said that the same thing happened to her. She told a story that Ornato had told her. Ornato said, no, she's lying. Keith Kellogg, same thing. So there's only two scenarios here. Either Hutchinson and Alyssa Farah and Keith Kellogg are lunatics who made up out of whole cloth this thing that Ornato told them for no reason, with no incentive. I know you're right here. I don't think you're a lunatic. I'm not going to go with option A. Or option B, Ornato has this habit of talking out of school, saying things that are embarrassing, and when they come out, just saying, I never said that. I'm going option B.
Just denying them. Fascinating conversation, you guys. Thank you so much for that.